Ski moms, we know you worked hard to make the holidays magical. Now let's talk about taking things off your to-do list. Picture this, a ski holiday with no stress, no hassle, just you, your family, and the perfect home away from home. With Vrbo, planning your winter escape is a breeze. Choose from cozy cabins, spacious chalets, or ski-in, ski-out condos, whatever suits your family's vibe. Forget cramped hotel rooms. Vrbo gives you room to spread out, cook your own meals, and unwind after a long day on the slopes. On my recent trip to Stowe, Vermont, we found the perfect escape, a stunning modern treehouse booked through Vrbo. It was everything we dreamed of, tucked away in a serene setting with clean, light-filled spaces and a gourmet kitchen that made our stay unforgettable. Vrbo has an incredible selection of quality homes, often with 3 or more bedrooms, so everyone can relax and spread out. And the location's unbeatable. Our treehouse was just minutes from Stowe's slopes, Spruce Peak Village, and even world-class Nordic skiing at the Trapp Family Lodge. And with options near the best ski resorts, your dream vacation is just a few clicks away. Plus, you can search for properties with fireplaces, hot tubs, or even a game room for the kids. Download the Vrbo app or check out vrbo.com for trusted winter getaways and plan a stay everyone will love.
Welcome to Season 4 of the Ski Moms Podcast. We're your hosts, Nicole and Sarah.
In this episode of the Ski Moms Podcast, we have an important conversation about eating disorders and their impacts on athletes, including ski moms and their families. If you or someone you know is struggling, please listen with care and reach out for support when needed. Our goal is to foster awareness, provide resources, and encourage open, supportive conversations with our community. The Ski Moms are so excited to talk with Alice Merryweather today. She is an athlete and advocate and recent Ivy League graduate. We're going to hear all about that. And you know, Sarah and I love our Olympians, so we are here to talk about her story and hear about her current passions and how she is reinventing herself. So welcome, Alice.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We try not to fangirl out too much, but we love that you are an East Coast girl and then made it to the highest rank. So tell us, for the handful of people who aren't familiar with your story of starting out as an East Coast skier and where you learned and how you fell in love with it.
So I am from south of Boston, from Hingham, Massachusetts, and neither of my parents ski raced. My dad learned about ski racing or tried it out when he was in college, actually studying abroad in Edinburgh. And he learned to ski race on the plastic slope that they have there. Thought it was so fun. And my mom was a recreational skier out near Buffalo, but both of them loved the sport. And so when my older brother and I were little, they decided, oh, let's teach the kids how to ski. It's something we like to do. Signed us up for race team at Attitash Mountain when I was 7, I believe, which was, again, just because my brother and I had really enjoyed NASTAR. We'd gotten really passionate about skiing. So we're like, oh, they'll become really good skiers this way. Do it a couple of years, then, go play soccer or do something else. And yeah, neither of us dropped it for a really long time. My brother skied for Harvard all through his college career, and only stopped when he graduated. And I just retired last year. So it definitely went a lot further for both of us than my parents could have ever imagined.
And we have had other podcasts where we talk about ski academies like Stratton Mountain School. But tell us about going from 7-year-old Attitash, how you decided to really take that leap.
I skied for Attitash for my first 7 years of racing, I believe. And kind of at that end point, I was in 7th, 8th grade. I was starting to ski really fast and do well at regional races. And so coaches from ski academies were coming up to me and my parents and saying, I think this is the right path for Alice. She might have what it takes and might have the skill set. And at first my parents are kind of like, what? Like, that's never been part of the plan. We'd never thought about that. But by 8th grade, it was pretty clear that was something that I was interested in and that if I pursued could actually go somewhere. And so had a big conversation with my parents. They wanted to know really if it was something I genuinely wanted to pursue, if I was interested in leaving home, going to a boarding school, and if I actually cared about ski racing enough to do that, not just to go to a ski academy and go through the motions, but if it was something that I was going to work towards. Because as long as I was there and I was actually there to pursue ski racing, then they were going to support it wholeheartedly. And they did. And I'm really grateful for that. So I ended up picking Stratton during the spring of my 8th grade year. And yeah, went there for all 4 years of high school and made the USD team upon graduating.
It sounds so familiar because Sarah and I had these conversations with our daughters in 7th and 8th grade. We let our daughter try it in 8th grade, and I kind of thought she'd, figure out that it's just so hard and that she'd pick normal high school. You were saying that, I was seeing like little 7th grade and 8th grade Alice when you were talking, and I was like, oh God, it must have just been really hard, because it sounds like you have a tight-knit family and not the type of family that was on the radar for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still so clearly remember the night before driving up there for the first day of freshman year. I climbed into bed with my parents and was just sobbing, like, I'm not ready to go away. So yeah, it was a huge change, and definitely, my parents were not expecting me to be the first one to leave the nest and then to also be empty nesters the following year after my brother graduated high school. I think was a shocker to the whole family.
Yeah, and then you arrive as a 9th grader, and I don't know about SMS at the time, but when our girls were at the ski academy, there were these giant PG boys, so postgraduate boys who, I don't know, they looked like they were 35 to Sarah and I. We were like, do they have children? Are they raising families at this school? What is happening? And our 2 girls, were 13 and skinny little chickens, as we called them. So good for you for being that brave, and also good for your parents for trusting in your dreams. But did they kind of ping back and forth a little?
I mean, they came to most, if not all, of my races. My mom was always there. They didn't really come spend a lot of time up at Stratton, only for like parents' weekend, things like that. But I went home a fair amount. My mom would always offer to drive up and get me, which is a almost 7-hour round trip. So very grateful for that. And yeah, they were still at so many races supporting me.
And I think what jumps out to me, because a lot of times when you hear people who have gotten to the levels, the World Cup, Olympic levels that you have, their parents were ski racers. Either at that level, you'll say, oh, that's the same last name as, whatever, 30 years ago on the World Cup. I think it's fascinating that, like, it sounds like they were not even, your parents learned about ski racing almost alongside with you. Did they try to help you get involved, get technical or anything? Or were they really just, bringing you hot cocoa and cheering you on?
They were definitely the hot cocoa version of that, which I'm really grateful for. Honestly, I always appreciated so much how passionate they were about it. They were excited that I cared so much, and they wanted me to be the best skier that I could be. And when I was really little, my dad learned how to tune skis, so he took the parent tuning clinic. But as soon as I was in 7th to 8th grade, and then once I went to the academy, it was like, okay, nope, that's all you now. Like, I'm not going to tune your skis if I come to a race again. And I think they kind of just let me figure it out on my own. And you're right, they were learning alongside me for a lot of this process. And I think that made it more fun for all of us.
Your career had an interesting trajectory, because East Coast racers are definitely known for technical events. They're known for slalom, they're known for GS, because we tend to have shorter, steeper, icy trails. No one can carve like somebody who's learned to ski in Vermont and New Hampshire. But then you went on to the speed events. And, Sarah and I are always fascinated by the speed girls, because we feel like there's a different chip in their brain that doesn't exist in most people. How and when did you get comfortable with those high speeds?
It's a good question. And I've kind of gone back and forth with the chip theory myself, because I think there is some kind of different wiring. I first skied downhill during my freshman year at Stratton up at Sugarloaf, because that's the only place in New England, at least at the time. And so Sugarloaf, we did Speed Week every year, is what it was called, and learned downhill skills for a day or two, and then had some downhill races. And Sugarloaf is a terrifying place to learn how to ski downhill. It's honestly, I think 3 out of the 4 years, it's blue ice most of the way. It's super narrow. So there's just kind of net right alongside you. They build kind of an awkward jump, so it's not smooth when you're learning airtime. And I felt a lot of fear when I was learning how to do it, but I think what was different for me than for a lot of the other girls I was racing with was that I would get to the bottom and I'd want to do it again. Like I'd get this rush of like, oh my God, that was so fun. I feel incredible. And most people were like, oh, thank God it's over. And honestly, like later into my career, I started to get some more of that, like, oh, thank God it's over. Like I still had that rush of that was amazing. I loved that. But I think maybe I like grew into a little more self-preservation instinct, something like that, that it did evolve, that chip that I maybe had when I was younger that programmed me to be a bit more fearless or at least enjoy the fear a bit more. It was interesting to see that change as I got older and I raced more in the World Cup.
Yeah, my daughter just had a little ski crash at Stratton and she just got back racing and she's like, I was very timid. And I said, that is self-preservation working. That is what your brain is doing to protect you from getting hurt again. When you graduate from Stratton, is that when you go right to the World Cup circuit? And what do those years look like? I'm just curious, like, is it just like a backpack and you're traveling around the world?
It's a little bit of that. So I decided to take a gap year after Stratton. I had applied to Harvard and gotten in. I had made the ski team and I knew I wanted to do that for a year and just see what happened. So I deferred for a year. And yeah, I lived most of the off season. I was still at home in Massachusetts. Some of the year I was in Park City in Utah where they wanted us out there for physical training, testing, things like that. And then, yeah, the rest of it, it was like, okay, we have a camp in Chile, we have a month-long camp in Colorado, and then races kind of all over the world. I had been to two World Junior Championships the years before during my junior and senior year at Stratton. And so I had a feel for international racing a little bit, but my first year on the ski team, that was the 2015-16 season, we flew over to Europe, I think like January 1st, probably. And I got an email when I was on that plane that I was going to go to my first World Cup. I wasn't guaranteed to start. I had to compete against a couple other girls during the training runs to earn the final start spot. But like 18-year-old Alice on that plane, like, oh my God, I'm going to a World Cup. I remember like we were about to take off and I still just called my parents like, guys, guess what? So it was an absolute whirlwind. And it was definitely just kind of my teammates and I all with backpacks because we were all in the same point. We just graduated high school and weren't going to college right away and had no idea what we were doing, but loved it.
Yeah, it just sounds like ski racing never changes. There's you cannot plan. You've got to have the most flexible mindset. And I was watching some video to get ready for this, and I saw an interview with you talking about when you found out you were getting into the Olympics. And I assume people know for years that they're on the Olympic track, that there's a flow chart and long-term planning. And it was so last minute. And I was like, oh my God, the ups and downs of these athletes. It's just, I mean, the mental mettle is amazing that you have.
Thank you. Yeah, it's you learn to adjust on the fly. Absolutely.
And one of the things we wanted to talk about, because we do have a lot of families with young racers that watch this, is that mental toughness. I know you can't tell us on a podcast how to ski faster. Would that you could. But you can tell us about your personal journey and the fortitude. And one of the things that happens to racers at your level are the injuries with, out having to get you in the weeds. How, as an athlete, do you, see yourself with that timeline that maybe you have in your head, like I'm going to do this and that, and have to readjust? How do you do that and keep moving forward?
It's really hard. Honestly, when I got injured, it was in 2021. It was the fall of 2021. So it was an Olympic year. The games were going to be in Beijing that winter. And I had planned on going. I had actually missed the season before to go to treatment for an eating disorder. And so having just been through a very different sort of recovery and finally getting back to racing again, being physically injured actually felt really easy compared to the mental treatment that I'd had to go through. And so I thought, okay, like I just spent a year literally rewiring my brain. I just have to show up to PT and rest and let my body heal. Like this feels so easy. Like I don't have to go to therapy and, push my limits every single day to get better from this thing. I can just do this by going through motions and repeating over and over again. So in a lot of ways, I think that really helped shift my perspective, where I could have been in that hospital spiraling of like, oh my God, I've been planning to go to my second Olympics this year and now I can't. I think I just made a very concerted effort to not let myself go there and to experience the grief, because I think it's important to go through those emotions. So I did more in the lost seasons for that. But at the same time, things could have been worse. And I was ready to just take on the new challenge and face it as that. And you just keep moving forward.
I was just rushing through JFK Airport on my way to ski in Utah, and boy, was I glad to have my Diamant boot bag. The airport was an absolute chaos as skiers and travelers navigated the long lines to head off on their winter holidays. Thankfully, I had the ultimate boot bag to make my life easier. The Diamant Weekend Warrior bag is a backpack-style bag that stores my boots and helmet and counts as a carry-on. It's TSA approved, so getting it through security is a breeze. The bag has a spot for everything. I had a full ski outfit packed, as well as space for my laptop, chargers, and toiletries. When I got on board, I slipped the bag into the overhead compartment. I settled in to watch a movie, knowing that when I arrived to Salt Lake City, I didn't have to worry about losing my essential ski gear. And there's even a version with wheels. The Diamant XL is a carry-on boot bag that has winterized wheels for a smooth ride on any terrain. As always, Diamant bags are designed by skiers for skiers, with a water-resistant and ventilated boot compartment that keeps my ski boots dry and fresh. Head to diamantskiing.com to get yours. And don't forget, Ski Mom saved 20% off the lowest price on Diamant ski bags for your whole family. Just use code SKIMOMS at checkout. Trust me, this bag will change how you travel.
Was it a year where you're just doing PT and getting strong again? Like, how long did the whole piece take before you were back in the starting gate?
I missed another 2 seasons after I got injured, all because the rod that they put in Switzerland was a little bit longer than maybe it should have been. And so it was obstructing where they could fix my knee. So basically I had to do the whole leg recovery first, take out the hardware, let that heal, and then start the knee recovery, get that surgery done. In total, it was, I think, 18 months before I got back on snow, which was already like February of the following seasons. And so basically for the first 9 months of that recovery, it was just kind of get a surgery, heal from that, wait for the next one, get a surgery, heal from that, kind of make as much incremental progress as I could before going back under, fixing the next piece. And eventually, once I finally got the knee fixed, that was kind of like the freedom of like, okay, it's the last one. Now I just have 9 months before I can ski again. And then it was like the most typical ACL recovery, basically, where the first few months are still really slow PT, but then you get into really functional movement. I got to start running, jumping, and you kind of celebrate each one of those little things, because it's, even if it's not new, it's new to, know that I'm not going back under and going to have to relearn it all again. So it was all about just kind of celebration over and over again. As silly as that sounds, that was kind of the way to get through each little change and each bit of progress. And like we would say when I was in eating disorder treatment, one of my friends there came up with the saying of "this productively sucks." And I fully embraced that for both that recovery and for the injury recovery.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the eating disorder. And I, as a mom of young girls, I'm not happy anybody has an eating disorder, but seeing athletes who are achieving things at the highest level talk about their vulnerabilities and it as another injury. It is something that we talk about and that you get help for, and that there are steps in the process. It's not as clear cut as you were saying with an ACL, but I am so thrilled that, Jessie Diggins is telling her story, that you are telling your story, because it can be cautionary. It can also be really helpful for girls and boys who are in treatment. Did you have a point where you said, to help me along the way, I do need to be public about this. I do need to have my teammates and my friends know what I'm going through. so they can be there for me.
We were all at a camp together in Colorado when things for me got so bad that I needed to go to treatment. And so I hadn't talked to them about what I was going through until I had this sit down meeting with my coaches, my dietitian, everyone who'd been helping me try to kind of heal or recover independently without going to treatment. But we were in Colorado and things just were only getting worse. And so they all kind of sat me down, and that was that last straw of, we're not going to let you go over to Europe. We really need you to take this step. Like, we can't force you, but this is where you're at right now. And we're all really worried about you. And so once that meeting happened and I picked a treatment center in Denver, at that point I said, you know what, there's no reason not to tell my teammates. We had our team meeting one night, and then I asked if I could chat with them all privately after, and pulled them aside, told them what was happening. And I mean, they were amazing. They didn't question it. They just asked, how can we support you? Like, how can we make sure we're saying the right things? Like, every step of the way, both when I was at treatment, they would check in and ask, you know, do you want us to not talk about what we're doing because we don't want, you know, you to feel like you're missing out? Or do you want us to send you pictures so that you feel like you're still there? Like, we're thinking about you. And then even when I got back with the team, they were so supportive of, what topics do you want us to avoid? How can we be helpful at mealtime? They really embraced the idea of asking questions and being curious about it, instead of just kind of avoiding, being awkward and making me feel even more uncomfortable. So I'm really, really grateful for that. In terms of going public, I think I'd spent a week or two at treatment. I had spent a lot of time reading everything that Jessie Diggins had put out over the previous few years, and was really inspired by her. And I actually reached out to her personally, and she was an amazing resource. And kind of around the time the first races that I should have been at were coming up, I decided, you know what, screw it. Jessie is being really vocal, and I mean, a lot of people in the alpine world follow her, but I've never heard of this happening in the alpine world, and I don't have a reason to hide it. I'd rather just talk about it. And so I think right after those first races happened, I posted and was like, this is why I wasn't there. This is what I'm going through. And it felt, I think, a little therapeutic for me in a way, to be like, I'm not hiding. I'm not ashamed of this. It was kind of a way to push through that shame and challenge it of what is a very shameful experience. Like, oh, I can't believe, I thought I'd done this to myself. And so at that point, to be like, you know what? No, this is how it is. This is what I'm going through. Here it is. And I got such an outpouring of support immediately. Hundreds of text messages, so many Instagram messages from teammates, from friends, from people I had never met, or even my competitors who had gone through similar things. And it was really powerful for me to feel that community kind of come through and help me when I really needed it. And that's something that I want to carry as I continue being an advocate, knowing how much a voice of support can help someone who's maybe also struggling, or has been, or knows someone who is struggling.
And as parents and friends, is there anything that sort of stands out that was, maybe not with the things that your parents were doing, but are there things that stand out that were truly helpful that maybe you'd like to share, or things that, were maybe not as terribly productive?
I think, like I said, with my teammates, the way that they were always curious, they wanted to know what I really didn't want to talk about, or didn't want present at meal times. Like, they just asked every step of the way. And that is absolutely the best approach. At least, it depends on the person. Not everyone is ready to have lots of questions lobbed at them. But I said, I would rather you just ask if you're not sure if this is a subject, or, talking about food, talking about meals, things like that. And so that was really, really helpful. And I would encourage anyone who has someone in their life that is at a certain point in their journey, that I think curiosity is better than kind of being afraid of breaching that subject. And my parents were the same way. My mom, I was at a center in Denver, and my mom just moved into a hotel in Denver with me for 6 weeks. And my dad came out for a lot of that too. And they committed to it as much as I did. We had their family therapy sessions as part of treatment. And so they showed up to all of those. And did the work on their side. They tried really hard to get as educated as they could so they could understand what I was going through, because all three of us didn't know anything about eating disorders. We didn't understand that it's, a real mental health issue. It's not just, something you choose to do, which is, essentially what I had learned in middle school health class, and that's all I knew. And so I think the education piece of it is really constructive and curiosity. And thankfully I was around a lot of people who did all of those things. And so I got really lucky and had amazing supports in my life.
Well, you mentioned the word education, and there's like a little bell that goes off in Sarah and my head, because we want people to have full active ski racing careers, but we also want them to have something on the other side of this as well. So I know you didn't go to Harvard. You are a recent Dartmouth graduate, and I want to hear about that journey because it is not a typical 4-year college journey. I want to hear more about this.
Hey, Ski Moms! We're thrilled to be partnering with Ulster County this year to bring you 4 seasons of family travel inspiration. Nestled in the stunning Hudson Valley of New York State, Ulster County is your go-to destination for outdoor adventure all year long. And when it comes to planning your winter getaway, this spot truly delivers. Let's talk about Bel Air Mountain, a ski resort that has thought of everything, from their expanded base lodge and standalone equipment rental center to the beginner-friendly area on top of the mountain. Yep, you heard that right. Bel Air makes hitting the slopes a breeze for newbies and seasoned pros alike. Looking for thrills? This is home to the only gondola in the Catskills and the longest vertical drop in the region. Oh, and if Mother Nature isn't cooperating, no worries. 96% of the terrain is covered by top-notch snowmaking. Looking for even more winter fun? Rocking Horse Ranch has you covered. Picture this: a beginner ski hill, snow tubing, ice skating, and a winter fun park all in one spot. And if you're feeling adventurous, how about a horseback trail ride through the snowy landscapes? It's like a winter wonderland on horseback. Get all the details and start planning your Ulster County adventure at visitulstercountyny.com. That's visit ULSTER countyny.com.
Yeah, definitely not the typical path. So after that first year that I deferred from Harvard, I made the US ski team again in the spring. And I asked Harvard, hey, I made the US ski team for another year. Like, the Olympics are coming up in a couple of years. Can I take another year? And they said no. Which is fair. They only do active deferrals, or they do multi-year deferrals for active military. And so I very much understand. They said, you can reapply, you can enroll. These are your options. And at that point, making the team for a second year, I had realized that, I wanted to try to make it to the 20-team games. And that was another few years away still. So a lot of my friends had gone to Dartmouth, or I'd seen a lot of US ski team members also do Dartmouth part-time, and ended up applying regular decision, I think, in the fall, and got in and started the following spring. So it was actually spring of 2018, having graduated high school in 2015. So it was almost a 3-year gap there, which, I'm so grateful for my time at Dartmouth. It definitely ebbed and flowed in terms of how I felt about being at school. It was really scary the first few terms, as fun as it was to be surrounded by friends and teammates. And Nina O'Brien, Trisha Mangan, Steph Levy, all people I'd been on the US ski team with, were also going to Dartmouth, some part-time, some full-time. And so I had a really, really good group of friends there. But I also showed up to college being 21 already and feeling like everyone around me had their lives together. Like, they knew what they were majoring in. They knew what they wanted to do after college. They had internships lined up. And I'm just like, well, I just ski. And so I got a lot of imposter syndrome. And I honestly had to do a lot of identity work to kind of learn who I was outside of just ski racing, having done almost 3 years of only ski racing, not going to high school, not going anything. As time went on, I got better at being at school. COVID came in and school went remote. So I'd only done 2 terms in person, 2 spring terms before COVID, and was able to get a bunch more terms done when I could in that remote span. Then as time went on, I just kind of got more and more used to it, got injured, which then opened up a big door to be able to do full year plus of school. So I did a transfer term at University of Utah, actually, for a fall term so that I could still do a bunch of PT in Park City. And then finished up, I think, my last 4 terms doing a winter, spring, fall. So it's absolutely not a typical path, but I'm really thankful for Dartmouth and for the registrar for putting up with me, because I sent in so many, plan change petitions, and I'm sure they just got that email with, Alice Merryweather plan petition and just roll their eyes. So very grateful to them for putting up with all my changes. And I'm so, so thankful to have had the opportunity to go to Dartmouth, and that they are accommodating for someone like me, because my education was amazing, and I loved every moment that I was there.
And so what did you study?
I was a government major, which they don't do political science, they just do government, and loved it. I took mostly international relations classes and international security. Loved that stuff.
And so now that you've graduated, like what's next?
A very good question. So I graduated just this past fall, and now that's over, I've got a couple of part-time jobs right now. I'm working for a foundation that actually was a supporter of mine. It was my head sponsor for my last few seasons of racing. So it's really cool for me to be an intern there and to give back. And then I'm also doing a little bit of data entry, learning Excel, learning Google Sheets, all those things. Doing a little bit of coaching on the side. I coached a bit in New Zealand this summer, and I think I'll do some kind of weekend and little mini project work around Utah this winter. But mostly right now for the winter, I'm trying to fall back in love with skiing, take a little bit of time for myself, and slowly figure out what the long-term life looks like for me.
It's a big reset. And that is fascinating that you shared with us that you felt like an imposter. I mean, we think these athletes who've had so much success that show up at college and they're walking around campus like owning the place. And it's really fascinating that you feel that these younger kids in some ways have it more figured out. And I'm sure they think you've got it all figured out. And I wish, there was a big sign at college when you walk through the archways that said, nobody has it figured out. It would be very refreshing for everyone involved.
Oh yeah. That's, even during my last terms there, when I was 28 for my fall term this past year. And I still went through a lot of phases of like, oh my God, these juniors have their internships lined up for after junior year. And the seniors know what they're going to go into. They have jobs already. And I was like, I don't have anything. Like, my plan is just to ski this winter. And like, what am I doing with that? Like, I still had it even being a lot older than everyone else. And it's true. When you actually ask any of the people that you think have it together, they're like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. So.
And you just got to figure out how to rewrite some of these things, like studied high-speed velocity and noticed effects of climate change at the highest level. I mean, there's a lot of action verbs and, punchy things that we can put on your resume. I think COVID gave all of us permission to really look at the pathways that we were on and think, is this right for me? Working from home gave a lot of people that flexibility and freedom. And I hope, as speaking as a mom to, somebody who's on a new path, I hope you give yourself that freedom just to be, again, curious. It looks like you're doing that by taking on a bunch of new projects and giving yourself some runway and space.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what I've been trying to remind myself too. It's okay to be patient with myself and not rush into something that I might end up hating. I mean, who knows if I'll love whatever I end up doing, but it's okay to dip my toes and at least learn some new skills right now while I have a little bit of time and really be patient as I try to figure it all out.
And you're very well spoken and you're very good at media. I wouldn't, discount that as well, because I'm seeing more and more, specifically in women's sports, there's so much crossover. It doesn't mean that you can't talk about basketball or you can't talk about women's hockey. And just the conversations and the elevation of women's sport, that's such an exciting area for me to follow. And I think for all of the country, it's not just, sporty girls who follow it now. It's middle-aged moms, it's men, it's everybody is so excited about women's sports.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time. Honestly, I'm stoked on how not just ski racing, but the conversation around ski racing is also being amplified. We've got Michaela Schifrin and Lindsey Vonn coming back. It's really helping the sport, and it's cool to see that be led by 2 women. I think it's really empowering, and I've been thrilled watching Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and all of these names just make women's sports be something that's cool and, like you said, talked about by everyone, not just tomboys.
So at the end of the day, make ski racing parents feel a little better, if you can, about what some of the gifts ski racing has given, Alice when she was young, and then Alice who's now reinventing herself.
Oh man. I mean, what hasn't ski racing given me? I think I'm only the person that I am today because of the sport. I mean, as a kid, it taught me what it was like to be truly passionate about something and to really love doing something. And I think it gave me my first real sense of community too. On the Attitash race team, oh, these are my friends. I want to see them every weekend and go ski around with them. The high school version of that is also learning grit and perseverance and understanding you can be miserable doing something, but you're still working towards something bigger that you really want. And then beyond that, ski racing at the international level gave me so many opportunities. I never would have traveled the world at my age, right? And I got to see so many different things and meet so many incredible people. I'm so grateful for all the connections that I've made from this sport and learned how to, I mean, resilience is what really comes to mind for the later part of my career, both the mental side of it and the physical struggles, understanding what it's like to feel like you've lost everything and to still crawl back from that and get back to a World Cup start or get back to going for big goals again. I can't imagine what I would be like if I had never found ski racing. And so I think to any parent, it's more than just, going fast down a mountain. There's so much that comes with the emotions that ski racing brings, with the community, with the travel. Like there's so many skills that kids learn throughout their careers, even if, they only race through high school or not even. I can't picture my life without it.
You were talking about reestablishing your relationship with skiing and snow, and I love that. I can almost kind of picture it. It's like you broke up with the boyfriend or a girlfriend, and now you've got a, you're on the market again, and you're trying to figure out what this looks like. So talk a bit about that. Where are you playing? How are you playing? What does it look like?
I love this question. I've been kind of doing a little bit of everything with skiing lately. I've only skied 2 days purely for fun for me, and that's actually been on slalom skis. I've just been going out and trying to make the prettiest turns that I can. Can I drag my hip, put a hand on the ground, that kind of thing. And it's fun. It's fun to go out and not be trying to actively work on good technique. I'm just going out to try to ski as pretty as I can. And for me, that's the most fun form of skiing. But I also went to a fundraising pro-am for the Aspen Valley Ski Club. And so I went to the Ajax Cup that they do, which was really fun to get back in gates, ski a little dual GS, and see a bunch of ski racing alumni there. And, they do a big après party. And it's fun to kind of see the other side of the sport of the racing for fun and just being able to take a couple of runs and then I can stop whenever I want, or I can go in and get a coffee or a beer or do whatever I want. There's no rules around that anymore. And it's been very freeing to just kind of go out, be on the mountain and be able to make a new decision every run.
Yeah, that's a totally different rewiring of your brain now as someone who just can be out there doing what they want, when they want, wearing what you want. Are you still wearing this green jacket we're going to find you in, or are you in a civilian ski outfit now?
I've not put on anything with the USA patches, I will tell you. No, I still have a really good relationship with Spider, who were my clothing sponsor for most of my career. And so they've been keeping me well equipped. I've got a couple of fun onesies I've been wearing a lot and some other really bold patterns. And it's fun to just wear flashy things and then go out and rip.
Yeah, and be warm. I mean, those speed suits are not warm, and you can finally ski and be comfortable, for a full day if you want.
Oh yeah, I've been loving that. I've been wearing sweatpants under my ski pants. Oh my God, it's incredible.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, and I'm that's very exciting for us to hear, and I hope you continue this playfulness. which leads us to après. And this is probably, après before was like, oh, you got to go in the cold bath and you got to put your Normatec on and you got to take a nap and eat your protein shake, blah, blah, blah. Not very exciting. Now you are inventing après for yourself. What's working? What's not working?
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a question. I mean, my ideal après is a glass of red wine and a cheese board. So, I'm trying to find that when I can, or DIY at my house. Honestly, I've been working out quite a bit. I want to be strong enough to ski as hard as I want. So my après also involves usually trying to get a session in the gym if I can. But yeah, on the more relaxing side, if I'm on hill, I don't mind an Aperol spritz. And if I'm, done for the day, then I love a good wine and cheese.
For people who want to keep up with your journey and get in touch with you, where are the best places to find what Alice is up to?
Honestly, Instagram is the best place. The handle is Merryweather_.
Awesome. And we will be sharing some resources that Alice is going to give us in the show notes. If you have questions about mental health, we, of course, are not professionals, and we encourage you to get the help that you need and support your athletes locally and also internationally. It's really interesting to hear that Alice said that she read all of those DMs and that they were meaningful. I send Lindsey Vonn notes during her comeback, and I'm sure she does not want to hear from the ski moms, but I am cheering for her along the way. And the same thing with Michaela. And I don't know if they read them specifically, but I hope they see them and feel them.
Yes, they definitely, even if they're not seeing them directly, they're feeling the love.
That's awesome. Well, we wish you all the best in your journey. Again, congratulations on your graduation, and the ski moms are cheering for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys talking to me today.
We want to take a moment to remind you about the Ski Moms discount page on the skimoms.co website. We've collaborated with our favorite brands to bring you a ton of money-saving deals. For instance, we have a special link for Ski Butlers for 20% off your family's gear rentals. Ski Butlers delivers your rentals right to the living room of your condo or rental home or the lobby of your hotel, saving you hours of time. You'll never have to wait in a long rental store line at the base of the mountain again. When you use our links and codes, you not only save a bundle, you're also sending a message to the brands about the purchasing power of the Ski Moms. Head to www.theskimoms.co/discounts to take advantage of these special offers. Hey, Ski Moms, we hope you enjoyed today's episode and got some great tips for your next family ski adventure. If you had as much fun listening as we did making this episode, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on our latest episodes. And don't forget to rate and review us. Your feedback helps us bring you more of the content you love and helps other ski moms find our podcast. Plus, we love hearing from you. So whether you're on the slopes or just dreaming of your next snowy getaway, stay connected with us. Follow us on social media, share your favorite episodes with your friends, and let's keep this awesome community growing. Ski Moms, let's talk about staying warm and packing smart for your ski trips. Whether you're hitting the slopes in New Hampshire or Vermont, or heading out for a big trip to the Rockies or Lake Tahoe, SKI HAUS has everything you need to gear up for the season. From top-of-the-line ski and snowboard equipment to cozy base layers and insulated outerwear, SKI HAUS is your one-stop shop for the whole family. Don't let freezing fingers or soggy socks ruin your trip. Grab essentials like waterproof gloves, moisture-wicking socks, and heated boot liners. And if you're planning a trip, their expert staff can help you pack smarter with space-saving gear and multi-purpose layers that'll keep you comfortable in all conditions. With locations in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, SKI HAUS is ready to keep your family warm, stylish, and slope-ready. Stop in today or visit them online at skihouse.com to get prepped for your next adventure. Pick from 3 locations, Woburn and Framingham in Massachusetts, and shop tax-free in Salem, New Hampshire. Check them out at skihouse.com. That's SKIHAUS.com to find your nearest store.